I'm joined by the FUT economist for a look at the team of the season Premier League, pack weight conspiracies, and market fluctuation mysteries. All that on this week's FUT Weekly. Hello and welcome to week 35 of FUT Weekly. I'm joined by Jamie. Hello, Jamie.
Hey Ben, how you doing?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. This is also the man known as @FUT_economist, in case you sort of haven't listened to many podcasts in the past. Yeah, so he's going to be providing his excellent market analysis, but also just a general chat about many things, including that team of the season, which looks very tasty.
Mm-hmm. Certainly does.
We'll be getting onto that a little bit later, because in the second half we normally talk about players, which are our kind of top picks. I mean, obviously they all look very good. Some pretty impressive stats all around there, but we'll get into that in the second half. We'll also bring you some reviews of our certain players we've been using recently. I know there were some pretty interesting ones as we both bought slightly more significant players than perhaps we've had in recent weeks with the market dip on Friday. But that's all stuff that will come up very shortly. For now, let's have a look back at what's kind of been going on over the last week or so, because since we last recorded, we've actually had another team of the season, and that was the English Football League.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was certainly interesting. I mean, there was a couple of things that happened. One was our, we had that theory that was sort of shattered. We had the theory that the 87 rating was going to be the minimum baseline for all gold cards. And unfortunately, with the likes of Shelby and Gale and all those guys, as it turns out, 87 wasn't going to be the minimum base rating, which would have been fun, but I think a little bit ridiculous for some of the smaller leagues coming out on Tuesdays.
It does kind of make sense, I think.
Yeah.
So do you think we could see that sort of like the Tuesday team of the season don't have that kind of baseline rating, whereas the other ones do?
I think, if we want to keep making theories, I think that's probably something that we could probably say is fair.
Yeah, and I suppose if you think about it, even the team of the season most consistent, you would have thought actually a lot of those players shouldn't have really been 87 rated. So maybe that does suggest no matter what, the Friday team of the season is going to have a baseline of 87.
Right. Yeah. I mean, of course, there's theories going around that the reason that they were 87 rated is because they sort of hadn't had the advantage, if you will, of getting an inform before. Obviously, the nature of the team of the season most consistent. But either way, I think we're just best served by waiting out and seeing what the ratings are to come. But with the team of the season most consistent, I was, one thing that I noticed in particular was, aside from the players, there was a lot of useful ones that you could use in your weekend leagues in terms of getting it in for those silver requirements. But the bronze and silver cards had a ridiculously high pack weight. The amount of times that you didn't really have to open that many bronze packs. A lot of people were doing the bronze pack method with the 1,500 coin bronze pack. People were sending me multiple replies on Twitter and DMs, basically telling me that the ratio was about one team of the season to about 20 of those bronze packs, about on average, which is insane because some of the cards that you can get in those bronze packs, because their base cards were actually bronze, you could get like incredible silver cards, and some of the cards that you could get are worth like 40k. So it actually ended up that over time you could sort of just turn a profit.
Yeah, I mean, I opened 4 of those 1.5k packs, and I got 2 team of the season players. Yeah. So that is a very good ratio. Unfortunately, my pack luck was not continued into the real business of the Premier League, but it was nice to make a serious profit on those.
And speaking of pack weight, I know you just mentioned about your Premier League team of the season pack weight, or pack luck rather. The pack weight for the Premier League team this season was particularly brutal, especially on that Friday.
I mean, what was Castro's Castro is a streamer who, for those who don't know, you'll see he often tweets about his poor pack luck on Twitter, and he's always quite an interesting barometer just because he opens so many packs. Yeah. I think he said he spent...
Was it 100? Was it 120,000 FIFA points?
I think it was, yeah. That makes sense.
And team of the season for Tongan was his only pull, which is like that. I mean, that's worse than, I think that's one of the worst ratios I've ever seen. I don't think that's the norm. I think he got particularly unlucky.
I mean, that's thousands of pounds as well, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure, that's a lot of money.
Definitely $1,000 or so.
But yeah, I mean, sort of going off of that, there's, we've talked about this briefly before on previous pods, but there's a theory that EA adjust the the pack weight of certain special items and the quality of the cards that you're going to get, depending on how many people are opening packs at a time, just sort of as like a market balancing technique. Because if you think about it, if they conceivably, if they kept the pack weight the same during times like on Friday when people were opening up thousands and thousands of saved packs all at the same time, and they were doing lightning rounds that were going away in 3 minutes or something like that, and if they kept the pack weight the same, you'd imagine that it would lead to these sort of uncontrollable fluctuations in the prices of some of these cards.
The supply would like massively outstrip demand. I mean, you kind of saw that to an extent anyway because prices were very low. That kind of makes sense. And the other reason I kind of subscribe to that theory is that most people seem to get the best pulls out of SBC packs. When do people open SBC packs? Well, they open them when they've sort of done an SBC on their phone during the day. The kind of time when nobody's playing around lunchtime or something. So during the week. So I think there is a strong argument that they may change the supply depending on how many people are opening packs. Slightly ethically questionable, but
a little bit of. Also, we should mention that is definitely a tinfoil hat sort of theory of ours. But I mean, it's also been put into practice with weekend league rewards. People tend to not want to open up their rewards on Thursdays. You see a lot of some of the bigger YouTubers and some of the guys that oftentimes get top 100. They don't actually open their packs until Friday. They don't open them right when the rewards come out because the theory is that everyone's opening at that exact same time. And they're going to get hit with reduced pack weights. So just something to keep in mind.
I obviously didn't have as terrible luck as Castro, but I also didn't get any blue cards, team of season cards. But I opened, I think I got gold 1 for the last 4 or 5 weeks, so I saved those. And I got the best thing I got was Royce, who is a walkout, but he's only 35k. On Xbox, and I got Jagielka.
The uniform.
Literally everyone got.
I actually packed him as well. I think I sort of realized that it was happening when on Friday. Obviously I was really hyped, pretty similar to everyone else, and I had saved up I think 75 packs from just doing SBCs, FUT drafts, and weekend leagues, and I opened some of my bigger packs like my 50Ks and a couple of rare player packs on Friday, and I was noticing that not only was I not getting team of the season cards, but I was getting low rated cards as my best ones. I would get 80 overalls, and I was just sort of surprised because that's a 50k pack, and usually you get an 83, an 84 or something like that. So what I did is I waited, and on Friday night, not even Friday night, basically Saturday morning at 4 a.m. I was just up because I have a strange sleep schedule that's really adapted to the UK at this point. I decided to open a bunch of packs, and I happened to pack Team of the Season David Luiz and Team of the Week Jack Yelka and Petr Cech back to back. So maybe that's just
that's 9 a.m. in the UK
essentially.
The kind of time on a Saturday morning when not many people are opening packs.
So
basically, moral of the story: there is no harm if you can hold that sort of urge to open those packs.
Patience might be a virtue.
Yeah, exactly. That's certainly something I'm going to try in future weeks. I've got a few drafts to play that I've been sort of saving up to do, and so I'll do those next week and then open them at sort of the kind of least busy time possible and see whether I get anything slightly better. But and also obviously have the rewards from this weekend hopefully. It's interesting, and let us know obviously if you've had sort of similar luck at strange times of the day at FUT Weekly Pod. If you want to get in touch with us at FUT_economist for Jamie. In fact, talking of packing players and when's the best time to open packs, well, there's a certain type of pack which is out at the moment that seems to be doing the business for many of our followers on Twitter. I actually even was chatting to a guy who had just played. This often happens for some reason. I'll chat to a guy. Someone will message me annoyed because I won. Not saying that this happens that often. I'm not that good, but the bottom line is chatting to this guy. Started off quite aggressive. He was actually quite friendly in the end, and then he was like, "Oh, you should open some team of the season untradeable Premier League premium upgrade packs." They're called, and this is basically a pack where you're guaranteed Premier League players, but there's not a guarantee of a rare player. So there is that risk to contend with. But basically, he was saying he spent 200k on those packs. So he bought loads of rare players and submitted them all. And he got Herrera, team of the season, Mane, team of the season, and he got team of the season Kante twice.
That is a wild pack luck.
Yeah, the best thing about that is that he already had the SBC. So those 2 team of the season Kantes definitely went to waste.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate for him, but I've seen stories like that sort of all over the place. I mean, guys like TY J-Man, Golden Bear, Gummy FIFA, Nick Trading. Like, there's a lot of guys that that are sort of in my circle of guys that I talk to a lot who put sort of minimal amount of coins into these SBCs and have gotten great returns. I think Gummy FIFA got. I was actually on a call with him when he packed Team of the Season Ericsson on like his 3rd one, and then he proceeded to get sort of this hot hand fallacy ingrained, and he went and spent a lot of coins and submitted a lot of players and really didn't get anything after that. But I mean, the point is, like, this might be really interesting for future Team of the Seasons when not as many people have opened up, sort of basing it off our past theory where they have this sort of stopgate on how many Team of the Seasons they want to release. Because people seem to have sort of blown all their packs on the Premier League. It might sort of mean that they are going to have a higher pack weight for future Team of the Seasons, for example, the Serie A. So it might be worth, and we were talking about this earlier, it might be worth doing these upgrades if they release them like a similar version of it, which I anticipate they will, for the other leagues.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just like a final advice on this particular topic. If you do want to do these and you don't have the players already in your club, the best thing to do is to wait for a lightning round, and then pick these players up on bid. You'll be shocked at how cheap you can get them on bid. In fact, if you get them on bid and you don't feel like submitting them for the SBC, you can turn around and sell them for a buy now, and you'll almost guaranteed make profit. It's quite interesting. I was speaking with Golden Bear. I don't know how many of you know him on Twitter, but he was opening up a lot of packs on Friday, and he was packing a lot of decent cards, but he wasn't getting anything special. But what was happening is his transfer piles filling up, so he had to sell a bunch of his cards. He was forced to sell, or else he would have packed a duplicate and then had to discard it. So he's listing up some 83s and 84s, and he was just, he was complaining to me as they were going over the trade block because, he said to me, like, oh my goodness, someone just got my Ter Stegen for 750 coins. Someone just got my, Otamendi for like 2K. Like, what is going on? So,
and if there were sort of tasty SBCs, which people actually wanted to do, then those cards would go for 4 or 5K.
Right, exactly.
Or 84s would go for 4 or 5K for sure. 83s for maybe 3K. So yeah, crazy stuff. And why not? Like, at this stage, maybe a lightning round, go and fill up your club with those 84 players, as they're so cheap at the moment. Because we know that those high rated players are always going to get some value at some point. Whether it's an SVC
for footies or for whatever.
Okay, so moving on to some actual kind of chat about the game itself. Yesterday was the final of the FUT Championship Series in Berlin. Pretty interesting tournament over 2 days. A few technical issues from EA, actually. I always think with these kind of things, the stream went down for a few hours, and you just really feel for whoever's been involved in the technical side of it when things like that happen. On the other hand, that was a bit of a disappointment because the kind of significant phase of the tournament, I think the stage where they were kind of finding out who the finalists were on the PlayStation side and the Xbox side, that bit was kind of lost to everyone watching.
They sort of salvaged it a little bit. There was a couple of the pro players that were watching the event that were doing it on Periscope.
That was quite good to see.
I think some of their streams actually got I think one of them got 35,000 views at one time. So there's definitely enough people still watching it. But
it's still a bit of a shame. But I did catch a fair bit of it actually, and it was pretty good to see. The standard of play was obviously high, but the games were fairly interesting. The defending I didn't feel was exceptional, apart from a couple of players, maybe partly because of nerves, and also that some of the players are just so good at attacking that maybe there is sort of nothing you can do about it to a certain extent.
Right.
But one player who's actually very good at defending was the guy who came through the PlayStation PlayStation sort of side of the tournament, considering the number of goals that seem to be flying in over the tournament as a whole.
Right.
And his name is Shells, and he was actually pretty unknown. He didn't have a sponsor going to the tournament, which is very rare. Didn't have a club like many of them. You've got the sort of two or three guys even from Wolfsburg, 2 or 3 from PSG. Sort of a real kind of thing where a lot of football clubs sponsor these players. So kind of surprising to see that. that kind of contrasted very much with the guy from the Xbox side, who is Vitality Rocky, who's quite established on the scene and is part of Vitality Esports.
Right.
So going into the final, just a quick summary of what happened. I'm sure if you're interested, you've seen it, and if you're not, you're probably not listening at the moment. But the guys played the first game on the PlayStation, and Vitality Rocky won that game 2-1. It actually looked kind of relatively like he was fairly comfortable on the console that wasn't of his choice, if you like, and that meant most people thought that he would have it in the bag in the second game. But actually, in the last minute of the game, it was 3-2 to Shells, and Shells would have gone home with an additional $80,000 on top of the $80,000 he'd already won from winning his side of the competition. But in the last minute of the game, Vitality Rocky scored with Pele, meaning that he won the game outright, which was pretty incredible end to the match, and a really good entertainment, actually. I think that really must have made EA think, what we've done this year has been worth it when you got sort of entertainment, that kind of thing at that stage. I think it couldn't have had a better ending to the whole tournament.
Right. Yeah. Last minute goals are always a good way to end it. Yeah, but there's a lot of interesting takeaways. I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier. Shells, he runs a particularly interesting formation, the 4-4-2.
Yeah, it is somewhat of a surprise, isn't it? Because we were chatting about it, and it opens yourself up to counterattacks. You have to be very good at passing in the midfield because you don't have a player behind to sweep anything up like a CDM basically. Right. And it's very rare to see people play without three midfielders. Yeah,
it was sort of interesting. He worked with particularly defensive right and left mids. If I remember, he had Bale as his left mid, which was sort of interesting. I think he swapped him at the beginning of the game, and I think that worked out well for him because he sort of had like a sort of almost like a 5 at the back system, but those sort of workhorses on the wings, and we're able to track up and down. And it just worked out really well for him. It'd be interesting to study his play style. And speaking of sort of studying players, you were mentioning this earlier, how Shells is sort of an unknown entity on the pro scene. I think that might have worked out in his favor because a lot of the pros in the post-match interviews would sort of talk about how they had studied some of the more notable pros. Like, for example, they had studied Unilad Gorilla, sort of got his play style down and said that was part of the reason why they were able to either defeat him or play with him. And some of the more notable guys obviously are going to be known, their play style is going to be known. But someone like Shells, for example, who is running a very different system than what they're going to be used to, I think that might have worked out in his advantage.
Yeah, I definitely think you could be right. And people just really aren't used to playing 4-4-2. And I have to say, when I do, I often struggle against it. Although I do sort of put that down to the fact that I don't tend to pat the midfield as much as a lot of people do these days with their 4-3-1-2 formations, obviously. Right. I just really can't imagine that defensively you could survive against that kind of narrow formation with so many players in the centre. But on the other hand, of course, it can be a significant advantage in attacking because you get to use the space out wide.
Right.
And it was also interesting how few pros, certainly in this tournament, seem to be using narrow formations. I think maybe there's a realisation at that level that to break down a defence as strong as your oppositions will be, that you need to spread it wide. So I think to kind of sum up the whole FUT Championship series overall, we'll probably talk about this a bit more in the lead up to FIFA 18, but I think it's been quite a positive experience overall, and the finals certainly helped everyone at least take away the sense that it's something that can be developed and has a good future, I suppose.
Certainly, yeah. Apart from the minor hiccup on Saturday, I think the production quality is high. I think the commentating and the casting team, obviously there's going to be some people who have suggestions about what they could do better, but I think they did a great job, especially for their first seasons. I think they did a good job building up some storylines. I thought it was a really good first go at esports. I think it legitimized FIFA a lot, and I'm excited to see what they have to come.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously we mentioned it last week, but I just quickly remembered that we obviously thought it would be good if they added a bit more analysis to the sort of coverage. And then I actually think they had sort of upped their game slightly, and Chu and Spencer both seem to be taking a slightly more technical view on some of the team selections, some of the players people were using, which is really good to see, because I know we said, maybe it'd be good to get an experienced head in there or someone who has a very good knowledge of the kind of tactical aspect. But actually, it looked like they'd either done their research themselves, or they'd been, the producers had provided them with a bit more background to work from technically. So yeah, positive stuff. Be good to see a bit more of that, I think. But really, really good production overall, and hopefully they can get all those technical issues sorted. And we'll look forward to the next tournament. Which actually moves us on quite nicely, because as we all know, the way to qualify for that FUT Championship series, as I'm sure both of us will be looking to do, we've got the FUT Champions weekends. Some interesting weekends ahead, actually, in the next month.
Yeah, starting, so not this coming weekend, but the first weekend of June. The weekly rewards are going to now include Team of the Season items instead of Team of the Week items. Obviously with the Team of the Weeks for the major, the major leagues are wrapping up, so the Team of the Weeks aren't going to be as heavy hitting. They're going to obviously include some of the smaller leagues like the MLS. So they're not going to be as attractive. So what I think EA are doing is that they're going to include the Team of the Seasons now as the weekly rewards. So essentially, I think what EA are going to do is that, similar to what they did during the quote-unquote normal period of the game, where they had Team of the Weeks in the pack offerings, they're going to replace those with the Team of the Season items, except scale back the number of Team of the Season items you get, as opposed to the Team of the Week. So for the Elite packs, you're going to get 2 Team of the Season items two Team of the Season items instead of 3 Team of the Week items, and then for the top 100 tier, you're going to get 6 Team of the Season items instead of, I think it was 8 or 12 or something, whatever it was for the Team of the Week. But then also for the monthlies, for the month of May, they're going to be giving out Team of the Week, Team of the Season items as the monthly reward. So they're going to get 44 Team of the Season items, as well as a guaranteed Legends, which is pretty insane. And obviously the monthly rewards aren't going to be tradable, but the weekly rewards are going to be tradable. Actually, we don't know that for sure. This is all based on what we've seen in the pack code. Something that for people that follow, a bunch of some of the bigger trading Twitter accounts will know that this is how we get a lot of our information ahead of time. But just sort of based on that, assuming it are going to be tradable, it's going to mean something very interesting for the prices of future Team of the Weeks, or Team of the Seasons rather, just because obviously all these people are going to be packing them for their weekly rewards.
And it does maybe suggest that we might see some kind of Team of the Season required SBC, because you can imagine quite a significant amount of Team of the Season players being out in those weeks, with many of them having very little value, especially considering the high discard price.
Right.
You'd see a lot of discard Team of the Season items.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And as we've said before, there's no harm in ever doing discard investing, other than, obviously there's the opportunity cost of holding discard investments, but if you have the coins to spare, picking up some of these, if they do go to discard, whatever card they may be, whether they be gold, silver, bronze, picking up a couple might be worth it, because as you said, they could be targeting them in the future for an SBC.
And also, although just thinking aloud, maybe the other side to that argument is that maybe the high discard is because they're not going to bother propping up the price.
It could be,
and they want to make the cards valuable, and they are still valuable because you get 20k out of discarding them.
Could be, yeah, certainly possible.
So for those of you who are trying to get into the weekend league through qualification, it's been a particularly tough week, I think. Obviously, you've got the rewards being the Team of the Season player, which meant that a lot of the players who would never play the Daily Knockout Tournament have actually played it this week, which is one of the reasons why the Daily Knockout Tournament has been particularly competitive and will remain competitive next week. But you actually noticed there's something that EA have done to kind of help people out who would normally qualify through the tournament but couldn't because of how competitive it is.
Yeah, they've basically sent all people that have won 35 total, at least 35 daily knockout games, but had not yet qualified for a weekend league. They sent them a message the other day saying that you were going to be qualified for this weekend league coming up. So make sure you've checked your Xbox, your email, or whatever. I don't know how they sent it. I didn't receive a message. I just got screenshots of it. But make sure you check all your platforms to see if you got one of those messages. If you have not yet qualified for the weekend league, and maybe you can give it a go. See if you can get some solid rewards. Give weekend league a go for the first time. I don't know if you want to do that. Put yourself through that mental.
If you haven't played weekend league yet, I wouldn't bother now.
Yeah, but no, definitely an interesting gesture. Nice gesture by EA. It's good to see them.
Yeah, I always like to see them, making sure that everyone gets a chance to get into the weekend league, because ultimately I'll probably end up playing them and they're not going to be as experienced.
So it's a completely selfish motivation is what you're saying.
Yeah. Moving very swiftly on obviously the reason why people are kind of competing hard for these tournaments is because last week you had team of the season Rudy, and next week we've got team of the season Sigurdsson.
Yeah, and it's sort of interesting. So what they've gotten for what they have for the first daily knockout of the week is they are doing a non-special item requirement in a way. You can have one special item in your team, but then the rest of them have to either be non-rare or rare gold players, or silver or bronze, whatever you want. Most likely you're going to be using gold, which is sort of interesting because, one, that provides an interesting investing opportunity. The window, if you're listening to it now, the window's probably gone for it, but a lot of people were investing in guys like Kaya Walker, Smalling, Conte, the regular cards of them, and they'd gone up pretty significantly. Just because people are making their teams for this daily knockout. But they also have a second daily knockout that doesn't require, it's happening later in the week, that doesn't require really any requirements. So you can just basically enter in whatever team you want. And we sort of had an interesting theory about why they might be doing that with the two different requirements. And I think it's because on the first day, on the first daily knockout, I think they might be wanting to cater towards the less competitive crowd. Because the majority of the people that I know are just sort of looking at those two requirements and going, well, what's the point of me making a sort of subpar team with a bunch of average players if I just want to play with my team of the season filled team with all my legends and stuff like that, and I can do that in the second daily knockout. So I think if you do have the team for it, I think after the initial wave of sort of pro players and hardcore players, the YouTubers that are doing it for reviews and stuff like that, play the first round of daily knockouts. Towards the end of the first round of that daily knockout, I think it's going to be the least competitive all week. So if you are looking to get that Sigurdsson card, I think that would probably be the best time to do it in terms of looking for as least competitive as you can, sort of at the end of that daily knockout.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think in a way, maybe if you can cobble together a decent team, though, that first tournament could actually be maybe on the Tuesday once the sort of top players have gone in and won it easily. I think be the Tuesday. If you cobble together a team, then you could actually I don't know, find it slightly easier than when you're playing against people's super teams on the Wednesday and Thursday of the week. So
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's good. Again, another good way that everyone's getting a chance at winning these players. And I think the Sigurdsson card doesn't look too bad, actually. He's going to have a really tasty long shot on him, isn't he? And great at set pieces. Mm-hmm. He's obviously already had an inform. So he's 89 rated, which is particularly high. And cynical, but you can always submit him into an SBC.
Right, yeah.
If there are any premium SBCs ahead, he'd be a prime candidate for submission, I think.
Exactly. Him and Rudy are sort of on the top of my list for trade-ins.
They're on the hit list.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of trade-ins, we have some very interestingly priced SBCs out at the moment. With the likes of Player of the Month Son, Team of the Season, or Young Player of the Year Mbappe, or Young Player of the Year Mbappe, and Player of the Year Cavani. It's incredible how low those prices have gotten.
That Son especially going down to 130k.
Yeah.
I imagine if that was a Team of the Season card, surely he'd be about 250 or 300. I would have thought. Right.
Yeah. It's quite staggering how low the prices of them have gone, and even not even some of the player ones, but some of the the 84 plus untradeable Team of the Week has at one point went down to 22k. And you could have stocked up on those and just sort of done those for fun because 84 plus, and you're gonna get at least a decent card. Yeah, it's pretty wild how cheap some of them have gotten. And then also some of the the league SBCs have gone way down. A lot of good ways to get packs, and then they also had the sort of flash SBCs. A lot of you guys were doing those during the Berlin final and getting some pretty good packs for Team of the Season. So exciting stuff for SBCs if you're into those.
Right, so moving on to the final section of part one, actually. It's a new section because a lot of you have sort of requested we do a designated post section. So you can submit your questions and we'll answer them all together rather than weaving it into the podcast as we go. And it should be good. And it also means that we can quite clearly state, please do get in touch and ask us your questions at FUTweeklyPod if you'd like to do that. And you can also email FUTweekly@mail.com. And so we've got a couple of questions which we're going to go through this week, and we'll look forward to doing some more next week when you've all had a another week to enjoy your foot and have plenty more questions. But for a few interesting ones here, which especially this one caught your eye, I think, Jamie. Tom Neary at Tom O'Neary asks, what have the prices of BPL Team of the Season suggested for the other Team of the Seasons? Do we expect initial low prices before the rise, or was it due to sort of save packs?
Yeah, definitely an interesting one. Just to give you guys a summary for those of you that weren't able to follow the prices of Team of the Season as closely as someone like me would have. Initially, when they were first released, obviously they were, the first 30 minutes they were listed quite high. That's just sort of the nature of how people list things, special cards right off the bat. But as it went on, we saw that their prices kept dropping and fell to the point where a lot of them looked way underpriced. The likes of Ericsson was going for 300k. Alonso was going for 220k. Some high quality, very weekend league caliber players were going for prices that just didn't make sense. Considering how many coins people had, considering how eager people were to try out these Team of the Season cards, and also weighing the fact that usually what happens with Team of the Season items is that they're overpriced in the beginning because of all the hype around them, and then they would drop afterwards. So there was obviously something different happening, and there obviously the thing that I think it was people had saved up so many packs from either Weekend League or from their SBCs that there was a abnormally high amount of packs being open, as Tom said. And so what happened is people were packing them all at the same time, throwing them onto the market. I think I saw at one point there was 18 pages of Christian Eriksen's Team of the Season, which is like mind-boggling amount of Team of the Season items to be on the market that early. And I think that's why prices got so low, is because while everyone's opening up their packs, no one's really looking at the market. They're looking to buy players in the first 30 minutes. So I think it just caught the market off guard. And obviously what we've seen recently is that they've rebounded quite heavily. The likes of Eriksen's going for, I think, 440k now. He was going for low 300s. And obviously I think that I don't think that's going to happen in future Team of the Seasons, because there isn't that those saved up packs. And I think what might happen is sort of ironically, people are going to assume that prices are ridiculously low at the beginning, sort of what happened with the Premier League, and I think they might mistakenly buy at the beginning, hoping to then flip them around for a profit when they, following the trend from the Premier League, rise up again, but actually don't. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. I don't think we're going to see the same trend for what I think is going to be the next Team of the Season, which would be the Bundesliga. So yeah, interesting question, good question.
Yeah, and I think that kind of leads on to a point about the kind of players overall. You kind of not inform Messi and Kante, as James Blow at James Blow 5 asks. Why has there been an increase in those kind of players?
Yeah, I mean, my theory around guys like that, guys like Ronaldo, have gone up about 50 to 75k in the past couple days. Obviously, like you said, Messi and Inform Kante have gone up. Inform Kante is sort of an interesting one because he already has a Team of the Season, so you'd have thought there'd be some downward pressure on his Inform. But I think what you're seeing right now is a lot of people have they've waited for literally months. I've been waiting for about a month and a half with about 5 million coins burning a hole in my pocket. Just waiting to make a team. And when everyone is waiting to make a team, and then when everyone sort of has this triggering buy day, if you will, and I think a lot of people were waiting for the Premier League to drop because they thought that was going to sort of cause a universal drop in prices, which it sort of did. But the guys like Messi and Inform Kante, those cards aren't going to take a major hit in supply, or a major boost, are going to get a major boost in supply as some of the other cards, like the Team of the Season cards, are going to get. So I think the reason that you saw a lot of them rise is because people were saying, okay, it's time to make my teams. This is a Premier League Team of the Season. This is a huge pack opening. I'm going to filter. I'm going to weave in some of these Team of the Season cards that I'm picking up, but I'm also going to pick up some of the really high players that I've been wanting to use all year. I think that's why a lot of them have, they rose. And I also think what it was is I think they were mispriced too low. At some point, I saw Ronaldo going for 640k, which is, comparing it to what he was going for in the middle of the year, At the height of his price, I think he was going for like 1.5 on Xbox. And compared to previous years, I think in previous years the most Ronaldo dropped from the point during team of the season was about 30 to 40%, and a drop from 1.4 million to 640 is well over a 50% drop. So I think it was actually mispriced too low. And I think some of the cards were recovering from that mispricing, sort of a heightened panic sell, if you will, because people sort of thought that this team of season was going to be particularly heavy hitting, as it is. Yeah. So I think they're rebounding in a sense from a mispricing too low.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I mean, with someone like Messi, many people who have like a decent amount of coins, but not loads and loads of coins, he's arguably the best player in the world. And you can afford him for 360k. You haven't tried him, you haven't used a player of that caliber all year. He's one of the cheaper kind of top players. You're probably thinking, I might as well pick him up and give him a go while he's at the price that he's at now.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So on to something which is somewhat of a mystery and perhaps will elude us for the rest of the year. The 84 plus inform tradable SBC. Kind of the holy grail of team of the season announcements for many people who stocked up on inform investments and things like that. Are we going to see it at all?
Yeah, I don't know. It's sort of becoming a regular topic on our pods now. When and if we're going to be getting the 84 plus tradable SBC for the team of the week items. It's EA said that they were going to be bringing it out. I guess they are waiting for something specific, some sort of event to drop it. We thought maybe they drop it on this past Wednesday with the team of the week. Maybe they drop it on Friday with the Premier League team of the season to sort of balance out the lower end of the market, which from the looks of things it probably would have helped. But I'm not sure when they're going to be dropping it. I guess my next best guess is for either Tuesday with the next to keep the hype going with the next drop of the smaller league team of the season, or on Wednesday with the drop of the team of the week. But I really don't know. They said it's coming. I'd assume it's going to be coming at some point. I just don't know when.
Yeah, and there's not been sort of any indications. There's no kind of hints as to when it might drop.
Right.
It's weird. You feel like surely they would have dropped it already if they were going to drop it. It's slightly bizarre, but either way, when it does drop, I wonder whether it might not even be that popular. Informed players are not exactly flavour of the month or flavour of the 55 days.
Something like
so I don't know. I wonder whether people who have invested, if your informs are sort of slightly higher than they were, it might just be worth selling and looking at investing in something else or picking up some players who are cheaper than they may be in coming weeks. I think one thing that people always ask, and we certainly had a lot of questions about, is if you've picked up a legend sort of cheapish on Friday, when would you look to move that player on, or other elite players who aren't kind of higher pack weight?
Yeah, I mean, if you're holding on to them still, I would actually wait until the end of or the middle of this week rather, because obviously in the beginning of this week you have the daily knockout where people can't make teams with legend players, so I think there might be a slightly decreased demand for it, but I would definitely try and get them off of your hands before the next team this season release, before the next Bundesliga.
Perfect time. Would you say it might even be kind of Thursday during the day?
Yeah, I mean, Thursday, maybe you don't want to wait that long because people are sort of thinking to themselves, well, now I've got to get rid of these players. So that could be sort of like a sell day, if you will. Maybe, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning into the midday, if you have those players still, that might be worth listening on then.
And in terms of the next best time to kind of buy those kind of players, do you think there'll be a similar drop in players that aren't in packs when we get to the next team of the season on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could sort of cover buying players in general, just because I've been getting if I had a nickel for every time I got asked when to buy a team of the season Conte, I'd have a lot of nickels. So buying the likes of those high rated players like that, I do think guys like legends, guys like Ronaldo, that aren't in the team of the season that's going to be released on Friday, which is obviously not obviously, but should be the Bundesliga based on previous years. Friday could be another time you want to look to pick them up. Sort of interestingly, it could be sort of this case where everyone thinks that it's going to be buy day, and then it turns out that people just sort of control the prices and they don't move much. but I don't think they could really go up. So I think it's worth waiting until Friday if you're going to buy players like that. In terms of the Premier League team of the season and team of seasons in the future, so the Premier League team of the season was sort of an interesting one, as we discussed earlier, because of all the saved packs. So the ideal time was to buy them actually a couple hours after release. But if you haven't bought them yet and you are looking to buy them, you'll have noticed that they've sort of gone up over this weekend, and they've slowly started to drop. And I think they are going to continue to incrementally drop throughout the rest of the team of the season as more players and packs are open with the future team of the seasons. But there are a couple of days.
And also the kind of volume of top players coming into the market, right. You would have thought would slowly drop the price of many of these players.
Right. Yeah. And as we go on, days to watch out for are on Tuesdays, when the smaller team of the seasons get released, that triggers some minor pack openings. On Thursdays, when the daily knockouts get released, not the daily knockouts, but the weekly rewards get released, and people are packing and opening up their packs. And then on obviously Fridays, when the new team of the seasons, the heavy hitting team of the seasons get released, I think you could see. I think what we're seeing right now is a lot of people are sort of seeing the closest shiny object, if you will, which is the Premier League team of the season, and that's sort of all they can think about. But I think some people might be forgetting just how good some of the other team of seasons are going to be. For example, Serie A, I know, is one that I have my eye on, and I know there's going to produce a tremendous amount of very competitive players. And when that happens, I'm sure that some people are going to be listing on and shifting on some of their Premier League players that they have in their teams currently to make some of the Serie A teams. So.
Yeah, it looks like a really strong team of the season, and I'm really looking forward to picking up a couple of players in particular. Actually, I know you've already picked up some players from the Premier League, so we'll be interested to hear about which ones you have in the second half when we run through that Premier League team of the season, and we talk about the team of the week, as well as particular reviews that I think people may find interesting. Hello, welcome back. I hope you all had a nice break there. Jamie is, of course, still with me, and we're going to talk through the team of the week. So I think actually we'll start off, just shake things up a bit. Normally we run through it, but Jamie, why don't you talk about Coutinho to start off with, as he's a player you're keen to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been a particularly enticing team of the week. Not exactly filled with many superstars, but Coutinho seems to be one of the bright spots for me. Finally, sort of cured his left wing disease, as people in the FIFA community call it, and now has an inform centrally as a center mid, and looks a very solid card. Going for around 215k at the moment on Xbox, 238 on PS4, so not exactly cheap compared to what you can get with some of the team of the season items and what you might be able to get in the future. But for someone with 93 acceleration, and he's got the long shot and curve stats he does with 91 shot power, 92 long shots, and 94 curve, sort of similar to what he can do in real life with all his finesse shots. And then obviously very high short passing. He's a very technical dribbler with 97 agility, 97 balance, and a decent strength stat on him with 75 strength. He looks like a very good card, and I've used his left wing a number of times in FUT draft, which is a mode I play quite frequently, and with him quite frequently, as a matter of fact. And in that pace stat, he actually seems a whole heck of a lot faster than that 86 pace stat would suggest.
He's got 97 agility and 97 balance, so
right,
that is really...
yeah, and combine that with high dribbling, and you'd think he'd be pretty quick on the ball.
Yeah. And good strength.
Exactly, yeah. So it always surprised me how quick he was on the wing. Sort of when you pack someone like Coutinho, or you get someone like Coutinho in FUT draft on the wing, you sort of go, do I really want this guy who's not super quick on the wing? But pleasantly surprised me every time I've used him. So definitely someone to look to pick up if the team of the season midfielders don't suit your fancy.
Yeah. I think a lot of these team of the season players look like pretty. They could be growing in price and get kind of expensive. But there's a few team of the week players you'd argue compete with some of those guys. I mean, if you're looking for a more agile attacking midfielder than Eriksen, then this man could be him.
Right. Exactly.
So back to the team of the week overall, I'll just pick out a couple of the players which are sort of worth mentioning. Of course, two really good wingers in this team of the week, Neymar and Robin. Neymar's 96 card I've used, and we'll talk about a bit later. And this 97, I mean, he's looking. I think the thing is, you might not think it's a significant boost, but just because the only place he's really struggling is his physical, and that's actually getting quite a significant boost because these cards are. That's pretty much the only thing that's getting boosted now.
Right.
I think that actually could be a significant jump on from the 96, although maybe the 100k could be better spent elsewhere on the other hand. But yeah, Nacho Fernandez is one of the more disappointing players as a left back. Would have been a really good centre back in form if he'd got a card in the position that he normally plays, or at least his starting card was on FIFA 17. Jagielka, a player that pretty much everyone has packed. Vestergaard, obviously terrible pace. Lux, also really bad. Goalkeeper, 81 rated, discard in form. You've got Jonas, who just, he's there as always. Just the ever-present. An 88 rated card. He was actually going really cheap on Friday, under 20k, which is crazy for an 88 rated card. And then Falcao, 87 rated, and just again one of those strikers that just really benefiting off the fact that EA are being more generous with what you have to do to get an inform this year. Jose Callejon, really not worth a mention. He actually looks really bad. I thought he was strong, but he's not. He's a weak card with no skills and questionable agility, and also
tell me how you really feel.
Another player who everyone will be using and you'll see constantly in the weekend league is Dirk Kuyt. Feyenoord cam, fortunately central because he does play on the wing sometimes. Obviously a big legend. If you're a Liverpool fan, to everyone else he's just another fairly average player. Moving on to the bench, so Batshuayi is actually quite a significant player in a way because not for his stats, he's looking fairly average, he's only 20k, but we wanted to talk briefly about how he managed to force his way into getting an inform.
So after his game, Batshuayi, for those of you that don't know, has sort of a very active Twitter account, one that I follow actually because he does tweet out some rather amusing things every now and then. And every time he scores, he tweets at EA or he suggests somehow on Twitter that he should be getting an inform, or that you better go buy my one to watch because I'm getting an inform this week or something like that. So after he scored his title clinching goal for Chelsea, he sort of very quickly afterwards went on Twitter and said, if you guys aren't buying my one to watch card, you guys are tripping, or whatever. I don't know what he said exactly, but it was something to the tune of that. And then EA actually responded saying, "Don't worry, we were watching." So sort of an amusing backstory there. I'm sure he would have gotten one even without his tweet, but I think that sealed the deal.
Yeah, and of course his card then went extinct. At 65k, and now you can buy his inform for 20. Right. So I again, don't get caught up in the hype with stuff like this. Moving on to some other not particularly exciting players: Suleiman, Young Boys, Norton, Swansea. Just really disappointing. But a Premier League inform nonetheless. Who's discard? Kramaric, again, particularly disappointing. Ex-Leicester though, he really failed over his stint at Leicester, and is now playing left wing at Hoffenheim and clearly doing the business. So well done him. Wagner Love, bit of a FIFA legend actually for previous years. Obviously used to have a lot more pace because that's obviously what's required to be a FIFA legend. Goes without saying. And then a player who does currently have pace and is from Brazil is Lucas for PSG, and he actually looks like quite a decent card. But you look at Di Maria, just a far superior option when you're looking at PSG. Or League One right wingers, but decent Brazilian card. But there's actually a Brazilian card that's a right wing at the moment that you might want to buy instead if you're looking at a Brazilian right winger, because Marlos, another FIFA legend, has received a man of the match card. The good thing about this card is Marlos has 5-star skills, so that's kind of fairly unique because as far as I'm trying to think, I don't think there's another right wing 5-star skiller for Brazil. So looks quite good, and it's got decent pace and really really good dribbling, and looks like an excellent prospect with Hunter. But we don't have his in-game stats yet, so that's unfortunate. But I'm sure when his in-game stats are released, they'll be quite good. And in any case, he's pretty cheap, so you could just pick him up and give him a try. In fact, if you do give him a try, let us know and tweet us his stats, because I'd be quite interested to know at FUT Weekly Pod. But the player I wanted to talk about was a guy that I spotted on. Well, I didn't spot it on Twitter, but I kind of spotted him on Twitter and put it out there for everyone to have a look at, because he's a Bundesliga 2 silver, and that meant he was really cheap over the past week. And was a really good prospect for the weekend league, and you can link him up to an 80 pace centre-back, silver centre-back Bastians, and an 86 pace right-back in Zimmer. So both those guys with Anchor were very good, and Yabo is actually a really, really good silver card. He's got 80 pace, which is one of the reasons why most people would be drawn to him, but he's actually a really good sort of all-round prospect. If I look at him with basic, you've got 90 agility and 84 balance, and this is on a guy with 81 strength, good composure and aggression, and solid jumping. He's also got a really good standing tackle at 76 for a silver. His marking's okay. His interceptions are 78. His passing isn't the best, so you may want to use engine, as with basic it's about 77, 75 with 84 vision. So it's still quite solid for a silver. And the 93 stamina that he has is really, really kind of the standout stat in terms of being able to just pop him in your midfield. He's got the ability to sort of link the play a little bit, provide a bit of hustle. He's got medium work rates, so he's kind of going to be your box-to-box player, but maybe not with the same intensity as a high player. You've got ridiculous acceleration, 88 with basic, and then 77 sprint speed. Really good attacking positioning, weirdly, at 87, and then okay shot power and long shots, which could be boosted plenty more. He's got 70 long shots. And yeah, his dribbling's okay, 77 dribbling, 76 ball control. So he doesn't seem like an outstanding player, but you take a chemistry style to him, and suddenly, he becomes whatever you want him to be almost.
Right.
He's got that ability to sort of be really well boosted by certain chemistry styles. And you can play him in a defensive role with Anchor, or you can play him in an attacking role with Maestro or Engine and box-to-box kind of mould. Obviously, this is all a bit after the horse has bolted, as people like to say, because this weekend league has now passed probably when you're listening to this. But he's certainly a player that if something like this happens again, he'd definitely be worth kind of having in your club. He's only going to cost you about 7k, and can I think mix it with the better silvers. Right, so that's the team of the week, fully roasted and told that it's not good enough to compete with the other things we have at the moment, especially the Premier League team of the season, which we'll move on to now. Some amazing players in here. Kind of don't really need to talk about it too much, because everyone's had a good look at the stats, knows that Marcos Alonso is definitely one of the most complete left backs that FIFA has ever seen. Mane is probably one of the strongest wingers. He was already one of the strongest wingers, but in terms of sort of physicality to stats ratio, he's probably one of the better wingers that game's ever seen. Lukaku, I mean, I'd be interested to know what he's like to play with, because he just looks like a steam train. I mean,
I don't know what defenders are supposed to do against him.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Seriously, it's crazy.
Ali, I mean, like outstanding as well, as a box-to-box midfielder, with a boost to his defence. Kane, I wouldn't even bother using him ever, but
he looks like a very good central player, to be fair.
Yeah, it's a good point.
With 62 defending, that's actually not bad.
And he has better passing than Ali as well. So
that's interesting.
So yeah, it might be worth dropping him back to midfield. Kante, he's a card that's been lingering for a while now. This is just the tradable version, basically.
It's interesting to note, though, that Ali and Kante are both the same rating as their SBC cards.
Yeah, well, this was a key thing that people were kind of questioning.
Right, and most people sort of have a pretty good idea of how they play, being that they've probably played against them a number of times already in the equivalent of their SBC cards. So,
and it also worth sort of noting that it'll be the same for the if we get any others kind of player of the season items.
You would think. You'd think it'd be the same.
Case, and De Gea is one that's certainly significant, because obviously he's not had any other special cards this year. Lloris as the other goalkeeper, that's quite interesting, because you've now got two kind of very, very kind of team of the year Neuer kind of quality key goalkeepers in the Premier League, and I mean, that being said, you could see some similar quality keepers in terms of players like Handanovic, for example, in other leagues. So Oblak is particularly going to be particularly interesting, I think. But De Gea, obviously, I don't know. De Gea, obviously, you could argue is now the best keeper in the game. I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, really.
And then David Luiz. I think you wanted to mention him because he's slightly caused some havoc for some people, I think.
Yeah, he definitely has. I mean, I'm okay with it because I ended up packing him, but some people are a little bit upset having completed the SBC for him. I mean, yes, he is a center defensive mid for the SBC, so there's a difference if you want to play him centrally. But I do think he is probably better served at the center back role. I've seen some people say that he's a little bit clunky on the ball. His 90 rated SBC card, that is. He does a job defensively. Obviously, he breaks up play a lot, but going forward, he can be sort of a little bit stiff. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it's interesting that he's 92 rated, and a bummer because he's going for like 600k when that SBC card was going for like 1.2 million. So
yeah, and Diego Costa, 71 agility. That's all I'm going to say, and then I'll move on. Kevin De Bruyne looks amazing. Sanchez, another player that looks like pretty unstoppable with his kind of strength and low center of gravity as well. Ibrahimovic has finally got sort of 82 pace, which just must make him so effective. And then beyond David Luiz, you've got some interesting centre backs in Keane and Alderweireld. Obviously, apart from that, Valencia looks really, really good. I'd really like to try him actually, even with his one-star weak foot. I think he'd be pretty effective. And obviously Kyle Walker we didn't mention in the starting 11 as a right back. And Hazard probably goes without saying as well. So let's move on to our kind of thoughts on specific players. You've kind of picked up a player who you've used throughout this year actually. So you know what you should be expecting from this particular man.
Yeah, definitely. The card is Christian Eriksen. Definitely one of my favorite cards I've used all year. The 88 inform, that is. He was a feature in many of my teams. I know he got that inform pretty early in the year. And I was fortunate enough, I sort of trusted my gut early in the team of the season when everyone was sort of saying, wow, look how crazy these prices are, but not really acting on it. I just decided, hey, you know what? I'll go ahead and pick him up. I ended up getting Christian Eriksen, his team of the season, at 270k. And for someone who's going for 440k right now, that's not a bad pickup. But anyway, good, yeah. I've used him for a number of games now. Not enough to do a proper review, but enough to give you guys a good first impression. For those of you that haven't used his 88 rated inform or any of his other informs, he is one of the most effective cams, really, not only in the Premier League, but really throughout the whole game. His 5-star weak foot makes him incredibly tough to predict, especially at the top of the box. If you're using LTRT dribbling, you can really jinx to each side of a defender and pop a very, very efficient long shot that has a ridiculously high ratio of going in. And one of the only complaints that you could say about his inform card is that he's just a little bit slow. And it's just a hair difficult to get him into position to take a shot because his acceleration isn't as quick as some of the other high level cams like Mertens and stuff like that you can use to that people like using. But with this 93 card with that 85 pace, and has improved, significantly improved physical, I found that there is a quite significant difference in his ability to just open up that little bit of space, that little pocket for him to take a long shot. And I found him very, very effective. I think you're going to find pretty much everyone in this team this season effective, but Eriksen has sort of my stamp of approval, if you will.
That's pretty good. And the player that I wanted to kind of highlight, I haven't used him, but Adam Lallana, his normal card is actually really good and really well-rounded. What I find astonishing about this card is his combination of like strength and agility and shooting and passing. If I just go through a few of his stats, he's got 94 acceleration, 82 sprint speed with Hawk, still with Hawk, 94 finishing, 99 positioning, 94 shot power, 99 long shots, 99 volleys, 91 penalties, 95 agility, 86 balance, 85 reactions, 93 ball control, 97 dribbling, 94 interceptions, just out of nowhere, 99 heading accuracy, bizarre, not sure why he has that, but clearly the man can head a ball, 80 standing tackle, 96 vision with 96 short passing as well, 86 long passing, 89 curve, 91 strength with Hawk as well, 99 jumping, 99 stamina, which is crucial, and 77 composure. So I mean, a really, really well-rounded card. I'd be quite interested to use him. That perfect link to the skill upgraded Sturridge could be quite interesting. And obviously there are a few other decent Liverpool players, although they kind of slightly got shafted in the team of the season, Liverpool, and I think so did quite a few teams that aren't Manchester United and Chelsea and Spurs.
Yeah, it's quite. I mean, in the Futhead comments, I think the top-rated comment is something along to the tune of, "I can't believe that there are 5 or 6 United players." Was it?
I think it's actually 4.
It's 4. It's 4. Yeah.
But considering
it's pretty crazy they've gotten.
Manchester United are finishing 6th in the Premier League, and
I think so.
But I mean, I have seen Manchester United play this year and a lot, and I've also watched highlights of other teams. And while I wouldn't pick that many players probably in the team of the season just because it feels slightly odd, at the same time, Valencia, Herrera, Ibrahimovic, and De Gea have all been by far like the best players. And it's the other players that have kind of let the side down. So they are kind of, if I was building a team of the best players in the Premier League, they probably would feature for best team of this year. I think they probably would feature. They have been very good. And I feel like maybe there is some justification to it. But on the other hand, if you think about the finances of everything, well, Manchester United are by far one of the most popular teams throughout the world. And putting in those players is only going to increase the number of people who buy packs, of course. But I think there is some justification to it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of gameplay, I'm certainly not going to complain with having some of the those effective Manchester United players. They are really effective in games. Someone like Ibrahimovic with his +5 pace, I'm not going to complain about that. But yeah, it's just something interesting to look at.
Cool, so I think we've digested that team of the season enough. Phenomenal as it is. We'll look forward to the next one next Friday. But I think we're going to move on to our player reviews, and your particular player review is another team of the season that you've been using. But actually before that, we wanted to give a quick shout out to another team of the season player we've been using over this weekend. He's a silver. I think we both had him on our bench, haven't we? And both been subbing him on straight away. It's Mate. He plays in the Belgian Pro League. We actually talked about him 2 weeks ago, so we're not going to go into the stats. But just wanted to say that he is a real powerhouse of a player, isn't he?
Yeah. He was phenomenal. I was thinking that I didn't really want to run a silver player in my central midfield, but sort of stats convinced me otherwise, and they certainly he sort of lived up to his stats. He was phenomenal. I really enjoyed him. He was strong, tall, won a lot of headers, wasn't caught out positionally, which is something I always worry about with lower rated cards. He was fantastic. And
also, I had Anchor on him and felt that his passing was really good. Maybe occasionally got caught out on a long pass, but in terms of short passing, he was really tidy, and he actually felt quite good on the ball as well. So I'd highly recommend him. I'd even say, if you can fit him into your French team and have him in centre defensive midfield, I really think he would fit in fine in a proper good weekend league team. I think he has the quality.
Right.
I honestly preferred him to the Inform Gondolons that I used quite extensively over the year, because his positioning was much better because of that medium low wear rate. So I'd give him a go. And obviously we haven't tried him on full chem because we've been subbing him in. So I think he can only surprise you when you get him in on full chem. Let's move on to, I think we'll just quickly do my pick, because he's a player that's in the team of the week at the moment, Neymar. But I'm going to talk about his 96 because I picked him up when he was quite cheap on Friday night. I'm going to go with what I've gone with is Hawk on him. Basically to boost his long shots a little bit, because his finishing is already really high. I'm not going to talk about his stats too much because he's pretty complete. It's only his physical with 69 strength with Hawk that is maybe slightly disappointing. You could put finisher on him, but to boost that strength further if you're playing him as a sort of left forward or further up front. But because I'm playing him as a left midfield, kind of felt what I want is a bit more pace rather than the strength. The strength is definitely what you'd want to boost most if you're playing him further forward. But yeah, I was really surprised by how much better he felt than his not in form. We often say, how good are the sort of boosts you're getting off this inform, but this is his kind of fourth special card, so perhaps it's unsurprising. But considering you can get this for I guess you'd say 3 times the price of his regular card, That's a significant amount, but he feels that much better. I think, well, maybe not 3 times better, maybe 1.5 times better. But he does feel significantly better than his regular card. And people know how good Neymar is, but are kind of reluctant to use him. How effective can a player be when they're sort of so weak? But as a sort of bona fide left midfielder, I think he really comes into his own because he's allowed a bit more space to work in. He can create opportunities coming in off the left and right if you swap wings in game. And with his 5-star weak foot, can kind of take on a shot which people aren't really necessarily expecting. He kind of causes a lot of danger. The way that he can kind of play make as well as kind of drive at players, it was really important. He certainly created a lot of chances. And I think just one of those players that like I wouldn't look past spending that much on that position. Like a lot of people, if they're playing that formation, like I'm playing the 4-2-3-1-2, kind of reluctant to put big money into those positions, but actually putting that extra coinage into that left mid spot has really taken the team to the next level, because your opposition has to worry every time you're in that wide position,
right?
And it allows space for the central players to do some damage as well. So yeah, a really, really good player, and one which I wouldn't look past at all.
Yeah, I've also just found that when I'm playing against him, that he's just one of those players that executes skill moves faster than I think any other player in the game. Like I've never seen. I don't know anyone that does a Berber spin faster than he does, or the McGeady spin faster than he does. And he also seems to be one of those players that just sort of has the ball stick to his foot. Like when I tackle him, like even if I he's like falls over, the ball like bounce off Smalling, bounce off Neymar, and then Neymar will come out the other side, ready for a finesse shot. And you're just like, well, how did that happen? He just seems to be one of those cards that does that quite often. But yeah,
I've been thinking of switching. Like, I've been talking a long time about going for a 5-2-1-2 formation. Something I've discussed a lot because of how well it counteracts narrow formations. But like this guy is like stopping me doing it at the moment because he's so much fun to use. I'm really enjoying him, and if you've got SBC El Shawari, he's like a slight upgrade on the SBC El Shawari, but obviously he's not a central player.
I've heard comparisons between those two.
Great. Well, and obviously he's got 5-star weak foot, which is probably one of the reasons actually. So great. Well, that's Neymar. I think the last thing for this week is, Jamie, you're going to talk us through your team of season pick.
Yeah. So like I was saying earlier, I've used 2 team of season cards from the Premier League so far. I've used Eriksen and I've used Marcos Alonso. Marcos Alonso, for those of you that don't know, has been a very popular pick with his 85 rated inform for a lot of weekend league teams. People favoring his very high physical and defensive stats on that 85 inform used him, and a lot of pro players grew to like him a lot. So there's a lot of hype about this potential team of the season, and when it did come out, people were sort of gawking over his stats. If you put a basic chemistry style on him, he's one of the first players that I know that has reached the all 90 club with a basic chem style on him. So the man's got 90 pace, 91 shot, 94 passing, 94 dribbling, 97 dribbling rather, 91 defense, and 93 physical. I've used his 85 rated inform. For those of you that have also used him, you'll know that his 85 rated inform is a bit slow, is a bit clunky, just sort of turning if he gets beat over the top through balls, turning around for something that's like a quick chip over the top. Sometimes he's a bit susceptible and getting caught out on those because he's not quick enough to turn around and get back for him. Especially if you're playing against someone like Mane out on the right, who's like ridiculously quick. It's difficult if they do some LT-RT dribbling on you because this is with his 85 rated inform, because it's difficult to sort of track that. But with this inform, I've noticed a significant difference in how quick he is, how good he is at sort of tracking those little movements by some of the quicker forwards. And I've also noticed that he sort of seems to use his long legs. Like he's a tall guy. I think he's 6 foot, and I sort of expect. Oh, he's 6'2". Yep, he's 6'2", and I sort of expected him to sort of have this Vieira like reach, where he sort of has these like spider legs that sort of reach out and pick up balls. But he didn't really do that for me on his 85 rated inform, but on his 90 team of the season, I found him doing that all the time. He also was very good going forward. Obviously, he's got great stats for going forward. Obviously, I played him at a left back position instead of his left wing back natural position, and I think he played great there. He stayed back enough for me in terms of like his work rates. But yeah, other than that, all around, really solid player. Was very pleased with him. I definitely think he's worth the close to 300k that you're probably gonna have to pay for him. We'll probably go down to something like 250, 270, something in that range, as Team of the Season marches on. But yeah, good pickup.
Cool. So what chem style have you been putting on him at the moment?
I said I put a basic on him, but you probably shouldn't put basic on him just because the only reason I put basic on him is because I want to see and use someone that has 90 overall or 90 stats for everything.
Sort of ultimate well-rounded player.
Yeah.
I mean, he does look quite. I was looking at his stats with Shadow because he does have quite low interceptions, which basic doesn't boost. So I was like, I was looking at him and thinking, oh, you need a Shadow chem style to give him 10 interceptions, get it up to 93. But obviously that doesn't then boost his agility. So I suppose there's kind of slight drawbacks with that. But he's pretty solid at everything else, and he's a 97 rated left back. with Shadow, so it's quite ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what you should do. It's just I like the idea of playing with the all 90 player.
Yeah. Great. Well, couldn't have picked a more well-rounded player to round off the podcast. It's been a pleasure as always, Jamie, and we'll look forward to talking to you again in the coming week about what's going on in the FUT world, particularly with the market as it currently is.
Of course, Ben. Thanks for having me on as always. And hopefully I'll talk to you again next week.
See you then. Bye. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you'd like to subscribe, then just go to subscribe.futweekly.droppages.com. That's subscribe.futweekly.droppages.com, and all the links will be there.